Good morning, adventurers. So we have a couple days left here in Costa Rica. So today our goal is to go out and get some really nice Instagrams that we can kind of share over time as we get back to the States. So we thought it'd be cool to share with you guys some tips that you guys can use to compose better travel shots as we kind of go out and try to get some of these shots today. But I want to preface this by saying we are not professional photographers by any means.
Especially not me.
We've just been traveling for about a year and we take a lot of photos when we travel, and we've learned a couple little things that we just wanted to share with you guys. Tip number one is to scout out locations ahead of time. We do this sometimes when we're like walking into a new town or when we're riding the bus or riding a taxi. I don't have my camera out to take pictures and we're flying through the area, but if you see a lot of nice places, you can just write them down or snap a photo with your phone is what I like to do, so that way you can remember all the spots you want to come back to later to get a good photo. This was one of the spots that we walked by earlier. We thought it was really cool. It's got like this playground here and it's kind of overlooking the ocean, and there's this old destroyed building over here that says welcome to a.k.a. and I really wanted to get a shot of that before we leave. Tip number two is to use the rule of thirds. Now, if you're not familiar with this, I'll put a link in the description below so you can have more detailed information about it. But basically, you just divide the screen up into these like thirds. And all you do is try to put the most interesting parts of the photo into these kind of divisions that you've created. So every camera has this mode on it where you can enable the thirds grid. And I'll put it on the screen now so you can get a sense of what it looks like. And you can use this grid to frame up your shots. And I'm gonna show you how I kind of just keep that on all the time and kind of generally use it to compose shots. So this scene, for example, since I have this grid on the screen, what I can do is I can make sure that this log here is kind of going into the horizon. So it's starting from this division here and then going into the middle here. And what that does is gives your eye something to kind of follow off into the shot. And what I can also do is make sure that this horizon line here is lined up with this top grid. And that'll just make sure that the shot is well composed. And also, it helps me make sure that the shot is level, because as long as I keep that horizon level with this line, everything will be nice and level. Now we're gonna make our way down to another part of the beach that we were at earlier in the month to get a couple other shots that we really wanted to get. All right, tip number three is to use a tripod. We just recently started bringing a tripod with us, and that's because for us, we rarely get shots of the two of us together, and that's because someone always has to be holding the camera. But if we have a tripod, that means that the person taking the photo can be in the photo. It also helps you frame up the shot a lot better. So one of the shots we wanted to get was from over here, just kind of getting us right on the tip of that rock with all this stuff kind of around it. So now that we have the tripod, we've got the shot all framed up. We'll be able to just set it here, set it to like time-lapse mode, and we'll be able to just take a bunch of photos and hopefully one of them will turn out. So tip number four is to get close to the object you're trying to photograph, but then get even closer. And sometimes this can be a little bit awkward because you might think you're getting too close to the object, but it actually usually turns out to be a much nicer photograph, especially when you're trying to get like real close detail of something. I really like this flower, for example, and I think it'd be really tempting to just kind of like snap a shot from right here, and it actually wouldn't look too bad, but try to get as close as possible to it and then see how that turns out. Because sometimes you'll find that you'll get so much more detail in the foreground and you'll get a much better blur in the background, and it really just makes for a more interesting photo. Tip number five is to try to take your photos from unique angles rather than just taking them straight on. So it might be tempting to just kind of like keep the camera at eye level and take a photo like this. And that might be a great shot, but it's good to experiment with like maybe getting down near the ground so you can get kind of a new perspective. Or you can try lifting the camera up like this and getting kind of a top-down perspective. And I like to kind of take all of them so that I have a range of shots that I can mess around with later. So those are our 5 tips. If you guys found this helpful, make sure you hit the like button, and if you haven't already, subscribe to the channel so you can see more of our travel videos and you can come along with us on our adventures around the world. And if you have any tips of your own, because like I said, we are not professional photographers, these are just some small things that we've kind of picked up. So if you have any tips of your own, leave us a comment, tell us all about it. But I hope that these tips help you guys compose better shots when you're out and about and traveling. Now we're gonna go get the heck out of the sun because it is freaking hot out here, guys.
Bye, adventurers.
We'll see you on the road.